So, in review of what happened yesterday, that's what I expected from week one. Something more along the natures of what we saw against Detroit. So, that's. So, I've cooled down since last time I made a video, so we're good. So, we were able to fix all the things. I think for the most part, it was a very solid game. We had an efficient Teddy Bridgewater. We had Adrian Peterson. He had 195 yards of total offense, if I recall. Like, the only real thing that I think killed them at all during that game, if you really had nitpick certain things, was too many penalties. They had 10 for 97 yards, I think. I think that was it, including a pass interference call that negated the Harrison Smith interception, which could have been useful. But things outside of those little nitpicky things, it was a great win. They blocked better. Well, they blocked a little bit better for Adrian. We still had some pressure on Teddy Bridgewater. But he did make something out of nothing with that on that one play where Peterson missed the block. He flipped it out to AP, and then he ended up running 50 yards. So, positive signs all over the board. Now we just got to take it up against San Diego, who has won a game this year. It's nothing they lost against a good Cincinnati team. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But it's good to see that defense come back. That defense was greatly missed last week against San Francisco. They had what was it, I forget how many carries. I think it was 12 or 13 carries for 18 yards, as opposed to San Francisco's 230 yards. So that's a great improvement, just drastically improved. It was literally day and night from what we saw in San Francisco. Now we just need to get that consistency level. If we can get AP rolling, we should be giving it to AP 30 times a game on average anyway. So the fact that they decided to only give it to him 12 times in week one was a little weird. I don't know why. But on that, going back to the other play I was talking about where he flipped it to AP, did he look a little slower? He looked a tad slower. I feel I don't know if that's just him not being in football shape from not playing very in a while, or if this is the age thing catching up with him, which I could see it maybe be a little of both. That wouldn't surprise me. But obviously he still is productive. He is Adrian Peterson after all. And I know some people will think he's almost done. I still think he has at least 3 more years left in him. At least. So I think we'll be good there. Not worried about Peterson at all. Outside of the fumbling, the fumbling concerned me a little bit, actually. He had 3 fumbles. One of them didn't happen due to a penalty on the goal line. So this is not a good blast from the past, might you say, when he had 20 fumbles in his first 3 years, which is not good. But I think this is something that happened from not playing in the games. I think he's trying to do too much out there, and then he just kind of tried to force some kind of big play, and then he ended up getting a little loose with the ball. But I think with time, that's going to come back to him, this no fumble thing. So we had that. But third down was also a big thing. Third down, on 7 of 14, which included, I think, 2 or 3 on the opening drive. So they're going early and often on third down here, which is great because that's what we needed. We need to chew clock with Adrian Peterson, keep our defense fresh. This is a blueprint that we can use for weeks to come, not just Detroit. We can work next week against San Diego, maybe work the next against Denver. So, Denver's going to be an intriguing matchup, by the way. I know that's thinking too far ahead, but I think that one's going to be a little interesting in Denver, with Peyton Manning being a little un-Manning-like, and with how much pressure Zimmer likes to cause. Even though we only did get one sack against Stafford, but they did hit him like 9 times. It was either 8 or 9 times. I'm going to go the over with 9 and hope I'm right. I forget the exact number. But anyway, so I think that could be a little intriguing. Anyway, back to San Diego. San Diego has some receivers. They have Stevie Johnson, Malcolm Floyd, Keenan Allen. I know they have the tight end Green. I know Antonio Gates is suspended, but I wasn't sure if that was a 2 or 4 game suspension. I think it might have been a 4, so I don't know if we have to worry about Antonio Gates. And then you have Melvin Gordon, which if the run defense does what it did last week, I'm not worried about Melvin Gordon at all. Not at all. I think they can handle Melvin Gordon. Their defense is okay, I guess. I don't see anything too special on that defense of theirs. I think we can take advantage of that, which that's good for us. That means it's another winnable game in Minnesota. So we can, from what could have been a disastrous start, could start out to be a 2-1, which is good, judging how we started 20-3 loss in San Francisco. So all that, they just need to cut down on the penalties now. Get consistent, cut down the penalties, and they're good. I think they could easily make a wild card run at that, because it doesn't look like Green Bay is letting up at all. So Green Bay is still going to be probably around 12-4, 11-5, like they usually are. And so if we can, Chicago and Detroit aren't really worrying me at this point, especially with Jay Cutler out. Now they have Jimmy Clausen coming in, so Alshon Jeffrey yet, so he might be a little bit rusty. They don't have Kevin White until mid-season. So we have all these things coming in. So Chicago's might finish last in the division. And then Detroit lost their defense, I think, for the most part. That middle, with Ndamukong Suh, C.J. Mosley, Nick Fairley, they lost all 3 of those defensive tackles. Just all gone. So the fact that they're out of there, I think that's one reason why you saw all the lanes open up for Adrian Peterson in yesterday's game, because they didn't have the beef up front to really do what they did last year, which I think is a tremendous blow to that team, because as we saw, the secondary wasn't as good without that. You take away Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley, they didn't do as much damage there. And it's good to see Rudolph actually start getting involved in the offense. We have him now. I'm just glad he's staying healthy so far. What week did he get injured last year? Week 3 or 4. So this is an important stretch, I guess you could say, for Kyle. But I think if we actually lose Kyle Rudolph, it won't be that tremendous of an issue. A tremendously large issue. Because we do have Michael Pruitt that we drafted. I think he showed a lot of athletic ability in the receiving game. So I think we're good there. He shows a lot of that upside in the receiving game. All in all, it was a great win. Great team win. There is no other way to put that. There was no clear, one player who you can put, the MVP of the team on. It was a great win all around, and they just kind of rallied around what happened last week, I think, and wanted to prove people wrong with it. And thus we have 26-16 win. But it could have been worse because that Harrison Smith interception that was negated. It could have been more than 26 points. So This team has room to grow now. I'm a lot more optimistic than I was last week, and we'll see where it goes from here on out, because they did too well now to where I don't really have too much to talk about. So farewell.